about you is that you have ambition to be great. My job is to coach you to get all that greatness out of you.
What is good, Fin Nation? What's good? It's your boy Reason. We are back here for another one. Bet you didn't think you'd see me tonight, did you? Well, here we are. We got some things to go over, and I figured, if we're gonna get into a panel show tomorrow night, there's some stuff we got to talk about before we get into that panel show, because we're not gonna have time. Because then, Wednesday and Thursday we're gonna be right into joint practices and such. So we got some things I wanted to talk about here tonight. We got an interesting article about Mike McDaniel that came out on The Athletic today that's behind a paywall. So we'll go over that. It's behind a paywall. We'll go over it. I got it. On top of that, Omar put out an interesting article about 10 takeaways he's had since camp started. So I want to go over that. On top of that, obviously the news of today, Preston, Williams, and Lynn Bowden Jr. are rumored to be now officially on the trade block. We'll go over the source material of where this whole thing started and some rumors of what's currently going on. And then on top of that, I wanted to take a look at the depth chart. And the depth chart, it has a few telling signs, right? Especially for all of us who have been paying real close attention to training camp. There's some things that really stick out to us. You know what I mean? So once again, though, already 170 of you in the room for this late night show. Please smash the like button. Subscribe if you're new. Yeah, it's I like the strategy here. Recoup. You're obviously not going to recoup first and such like that, but with the draft capital we've lost with the third in 2 years and the first round pick this year, it doesn't hurt if you can get. Hey, at the end of the day, you didn't give up much for Lynn Bowden, so if you can get anything similar back, you're good. And if you get anything for Preston Williams, it's a win. So, a UDFA into a draft pick, that's a win. Either way, however you slice it. Now, when we get into this, and we'll get in depth into it, I do have certain concerns and certain issues. And your boy did a little research. I sat there and I went through, I found 6 of the worst receiving cores in the NFL. And then I looked at what they had to offer compared to what we need direly right now, i.e. center. And we'll go over the names and such because I got names for y'all. But it's slim, risky pickings, let's call it at best. So we'll talk about that whole thing. Again, I want to give initial thoughts on the depth chart, and we'll get into it. But we remember how up and down our depth chart was until the regular season started, right? Now you're going to get a lot of people, they're locked in. They're locked in. That's what it is. It's good. Well, that's beautiful. Now, opening rant. If you've been following me, during the season, and we'll be bringing it back this year, I like to do the jabroni of the week. And since we're in a training camp and preseason is upon us, I would like to name my first preseason jabroni of the week. And it's a Monday, and the week just started, and I got to name the guy the jabroni of the week. I'm not going to play the clip because if you've been on Twitter, you've seen it. Actually, you know what? I'll play the clip for you guys. Give me 1 second. I'm going to play the clip for you guys. Whatever. If we get demonetized, we get demonetized. Live with it. I need the context. I need to show you guys exactly what I'm talking about. And I got to wait, actually, get around, circumvent this. So we'll watch it from Twitter. I didn't download it, so it's not going to be directly for you guys. But, let me bring this up for you guys. Give me 1 sec. And just because I'm going to go in on this man being jabroni of the week, I want you guys to hear exactly why. All right. Another thing, too, if you guys didn't see today, the Jets, Mekhi Becton is feared to be out for the season. He has a chip-like fracture in his surgically repaired knee, so that's a big loss for the Jets and all their hopes and dreams. All right, let me show you guys this quick because I got a rant on this. I got a rant on this guy. All right, so here he is. Colin Cowherd, you were the first preseason jabroni of the week, and I'm going to show everyone why. So I say here, I don't know whether to smile or nod politely. I don't know whether to smile and nod politely or to be scared shitless of the fact that Colin Cowherd has flip-flopped this hard on and now supports Tua. So I want you guys to hear what he says, and I can circumvent it. You guys are going to know it's him, right? So we'll play it here. You'll know it's him.
If you look at Tua's history, high school, college, and pro, he's always been a 68% completion guy. That's never been an issue with him. His issue in Miami is they didn't protect him. He didn't have playmakers. And so when I watch all of his video in the preseason, which has been all over the internet, I'm like, I kind of buy some of it. I know there's fake UFO videos, and I know camp video doesn't always mean greatness, but he's been accurate. When you've given him weapons, he gets the ball accurately to weapons. That's it. He's not the biggest guy. He's not the most athletic guy. So I do look at his camp and I go, yeah, I think some of this is legit. He's going to be very, very strong this year. If you look at Tua's history, high school, college, and pro, he's always been a 68% completion guy. That's never been an issue with him. His issue in Miami is they didn't protect him. He didn't have playmakers. And so when I watch all of his video in the preseason, which has been all over the internet, I'm like, I kind of buy some of it.
All right, so he has that little clip, and obviously Mangini gives his thoughts and such like that on it. All right, here's my issue with this. All right, he brings up his accuracy and everything like that. Brings up his percentage. He does all this jazz, okay? But the thing is that you protect him and you get him some weapons. Funny how that works, huh, Colin? Funny how it works that you need a few weapons. Funny how that works that a quarterback, I don't know, needs a few guys to throw to and needs people to block him and keep him upright. Crazy how that works, huh? Isn't that absolutely mind-boggling? You look at this, and this guy has been so harsh on Tua for 2 years. Tua finally gets some support. Now you want to hop on and say, oh, well, he's been a 68% guy his whole career. Well, listen to what you're saying, Colin. You're saying he was a 68% guy in the NFL when he had no protection and no weapons. What, now you want to play Captain Obvious that protection and weapons are probably going to improve his chances at being a successful potential franchise quarterback in the NFL? Who would have thunk it, Colin? Not this guy. Not the guy who's been preaching it. It's so mind-boggling that for these mainstream media guys, the most logical thought to a football mind or to someone who knows the game is a light bulb going off to these guys. And he better not be putting bad juju on my quarterback now that he's out here all of a sudden supporting Tua. He probably going to end up supporting Baker Mayfield too when Baker wins the Carolina job. This guy is flip-flopping harder than a pair of sandals on the beach. And he is the first preseason jabroni of the week because, man, I tweeted it out months ago, and now you're starting. The backpedaling and the shuffling is real right now, huh? And who would have thought? I don't know, adding another weapon, we're going to open up it makes Jalen Waddle even more deadlier. It makes him a new versatile weapon. Who would have thought, huh? Who would have thought that supporting Tua? I mean, the man just literally said he's a 68% career guy since high school. So high school, college football. Sorry, high school, college, NFL. My bad. And now, other than the protection, because the protection at Bama overall was better. Did they have a Taron Armstead there? No. But overall, 1 to 5, their protection was better at Bama. Let's call a spade right now. They didn't have question marks like we do. Let's put it that way, all right? But weapon-wise, I think this is, this is the most talented unit he's been surrounded by. Because I remember, I know it's running back you out there, But if Chase Edmonds and Raheem Mostert and Sony Michel can stay healthy, that's a loaded running back room from 1 to 3. Alec Ingold, another guy who run the football and catch the football, and it also light you up at the line of scrimmage in the running game. That's a deep running game. That's why it's always come down to the protection. The weapons are ready. The running back unit's ready. The receiver unit's ready. Tua is ready. It's if the protection is ready or not. And I'm going to say this. I'm not asking for top 15. I'm not asking for top 10. I'm saying give me in and around top 20. If you can, I'll take 22. If we can be the 22nd best offensive line in the NFL, that'll be good enough with what we have. I truly believe that. I'm not asking for top 15 because that's unrealistic with what this is shaping up to be, especially if, you know, one of the big three on that line gets injured, Hunt, Williams, or Armstead. Because really, let's be honest, we got 3 locks. We got a guy that is making me look like a genius in Austin Jackson, who he's probably going to give you competent. That's what I've been expecting. He's going to give us competent this season, which will be good enough. But remember, I'm also counting Connor Williams as one of the big 3 at left guard, not at center. So we'll see how this plays out. It's all going to come down to the protection. That's it. Period. Be competent. Jonathan, we start practice in Tampa Bay. Joint practice is Wednesday and Thursday. So, also, you saw me drinking out of that Waddle Cup. Save 15% off at Pick Six Apparel by using code Phinside The NFL. And, pick6apparel.com. Man, you can customize so many different things with your favorite players or your favorite team. So go check it out, guys. The shipping is incredible. I know I talk about it all the time because the shipping's crazy fast. So, hey, at the end of the day, it's just another day in Dolphins land. We go as far as the protection takes us. But that's how much I believe in this team. That's truly how much I believe in this team and what we've assembled right now. That if you just give us 22nd, if you want to give me, you've got to give me 20th. I mean, I'm here for it. But if you give us 22nd, I think we can make some serious noise. I really do. And for the love of God, go get a center, please. Please, I'm going to say this every show till it happens. Stop worrying about Eichenberg's draft status and feelings. If getting a center moves Connor Williams to left guard and Eichenberg to left bench, so be it. I'm here to win. The window is now. The window is now. It is a 3-year window we are in. It is a 3-year window we are in. I'm not here to play games. I'm here to watch us stack up W's. Zim, I want a top 15 offensive line too, but I know it ain't happening this year. Top 15 offensive line is Eichenberg and Jackson are competent. Hunt and Williams and Taron Armstead do their thing. Then next year, we upgrade on Eichenberg and Jackson. Then we start talking about top 15 line. But we ain't going to be a top 15 line with Eichenberg and Jackson in the starting right now, this year at least. Jackson might, be competent this year and take a second-year leap in the system and elevate his game next year as he gets older because people forget how young he is, So that might happen. But I still think at the end of the day, you're going to have to put Connor Williams back at left guard and you're going to have to get a real center. A real center fixes everything here, boys and girls. You go get a legitimate starting center. Connor and Taron Armstead man the left side. That's one of the best left sides in the AFC. Hunt and Jackson man the right, and that's a right side with a lot of potential. And you're not worrying about the middle. We have one area of weakness. We have our weakest link is all of a sudden Austin Jackson by a country mile. So at least Tua knows where to have the extra set of eyes in the back of his head focused on, and that's off the right edge. Makes it a lot easier than, okay, I got to worry I got to worry about the A gap, the B gap on both sides. I got to worry about straight up off the nose of my center. I got to worry about both edges. If you could get it down, that center kicks Connor to left guard. We know what Hunt is. Hunt's going to be a Pro Bowl, all pro right guard. That locks those 4 guys in, and you're only worried about Austin Jackson. And guess what? If he only gives you competent this year and you think you can get better, that's one guy you got to replace, and you keep the train moving. Like, everyone remembers how badly I wanted Corey Linsley. They signed Corey Linsley and then they drafted Rashawn Slater, and all they've done is add to that line since. And look at the line. It all started with Corey Linsley. When the Chiefs had to rebuild their offensive line, they stayed pat. Creed Humphrey could have fallen to us instead of us moving for Eichenberg. Creed Humphrey's now a top 5 center in the NFL. Absolute steal where he went. Could have fallen to us right at 50. Like, and then look at the rebuilt offensive line in Kansas City around him with Orlando Brown and such like that. You know, look at all these rebuilt offensive lines for great quarterbacks in recent years. A lot of it has started at the center. You know, now, okay, I guess the one, you know, the one exception would probably, I mean, if you're talking about recent rebuilt offensive lines, I mean, well, I mean, what do we all think about Ted Karras? You know what I mean? Because, I mean, look at what they've done in Cincinnati with Jonah Williams. They stuck him around. They drafted Jackson Carman. They got Alex Kappa from Tampa Bay, and they brought in Lyle Collins. And then they brought in Ted Karras. So, you know, they added Ted Karras, Alex Kappa, and Lyle Collins in one offseason. And we all know what Ted Karras is. He's just competent enough. But, I mean, you know, for the majority of these new rebuild lines for these studs, they have a stud center in the middle. So, and maybe Ted Karras' game elevates around in between those guys, but even he's more competent than what we have. Let's call a spade right. Because I've said, what have I said on air? I've told you guys, if we were to sign a Ted Karras level center, like competence level of center, he would win the job. That would kick Connor right back to left guard. That's why they're bringing in, you know, Tom, Dick, and Harry from Lowe's who stacked shelves on the weekend. Okay, I know they bring in, you know, the best, you know, UFL or whatever, you know, some jabroni league, you know, the best center in some jabroni league. But all right, I mean, what am I going to sit here and expect from that? You know, you couldn't even hack it as a backup. Come on. So I don't know. We'll see, but I do not, you know, I've been telling you guys from day one, Treader's expensive. And from what I've been told, he's not interested in Miami and I've given you my reasons before. That could change. Dollar signs change everything. I'm going to say it. If he's going to be healthy by the regular season, get Matt Paradis in the building. Stop. You know, and we'll go over some other names that I looked into for you guys when we go over Preston and stuff. But, you know, I just don't feel like they're going to upgrade it. And it's frustrating because you got 20 million sitting there. You know, you've set Tua up the best he's ever been set up, but you got 20 million sitting there as well as draft capital to set him up even more. And to set McDaniel in this offense up even more. It's there. It's there. Because let's be honest, you could package Preston or Bowden with a pick and probably go get someone decent who, you know, isn't on the list of dire need of wide receivers we're looking at, right? You know, or you could package, you know, a pick or two and go get someone. So we'll see. But let's get into this. Let's start off with what happened today. 405 of you in the room. Smash the like button. Subscribe if you're new. Let's start off with we got to set it up. All right. So we're going to start off with the depth chart because this is where the eyebrows start to raise. With the depth chart is where we start to raise the eyebrows. All right. So they released the initial depth chart today. Obviously, no surprises with Waddle, Armstead, Eichenberg, Connor Williams, Hunt, Jackson, Gesicki, Ingold, Edmonds, and Moser. Look at they listed as a 2 black set. I love it. Tagovailoa and Hill as a starter. So they don't, if you'll notice on the chart, they don't have a slot, right? Because they got the fullback and the 2 running back set there. They're loving it. Anyways, interesting stuff here. Guys, in what world has Preston Williams and Lynn Bowden Jr. designated themselves in practice thus far to be ahead of Trent Sherfield, Mohamed Sanu, Eric Izakama, River Craycraft, Braylon Sanders? I won't even include DeAndre Dedman. Right there, what is that telling you? Just by their depth chart alone, they are trying to boost the value of Preston Williams and Lynn Bowden Jr. Just by when we first saw this today, I was like, are you kidding me? Like, in what world? Right? In what world? Also interesting, they have Gaskin listed in front of Ahmed, which I don't believe for a second. Do not believe that for a second. And look at how far down they have Izakama listed too, eh? Don't believe you. Don't believe you. Adam Pankey, they didn't even list him as a center, even though it's cross-training. They left him at guard. Kinley has slid. He's behind Robert Jones now. Greg Little in front of Kellen Deesh, I find very interesting. You see Hunter Long, shaking has fallen behind Ethan Carter on the depth chart as well. That's just on the offense. So very interesting. Obviously, do not read it. I'm not reading into anything other than Lynn Bowden and Preston Williams are clearly listed higher than where they should be. And I think that's for a reason. Other than that, I ain't reading into anything else. Other than maybe Shaheen and Carter. On the defensive side, again, so the one surprise here, there's no surprises but one. They've got Melvin Ingram listed ahead of Andrew Van Ginkel. And what I've been telling you guys consistently, this man is going to push Andrew Van Ginkel for snaps. And I've been hearing how good and how explosive he has been at camp, as well as we've been reading it in the reports together as well. And Melvin Ingram is listed ahead of Andrew Van Ginkel right now. And that is a man in a contract year. I'm telling you guys, oh boy, when I sit here and I look at Wilkins, Davis, Ogba, Phillips, and Ingram and the stuff you can do with those guys, I'm excited. And Andrew Van Ginkel rotating, right? And look at, they got Brendan Scarlett backing up Phillips, so he can rotate in there as well. Sam McGuavin, I'm telling you right now, they want to carry an extra linebacker. Sam McGuavin's making this team, man. Channing Tindall, obviously behind Baker and Riley. That really doesn't surprise anyone. Interesting, they have Noah Benogany rated in front of Trent Williams based on everything we've seen, heard, and people I've talked to. I don't buy that for a second. Maybe they're dipping their toes and trying to see if they can get something for him as well. Keon Crossan, very, very interesting. Where he's lined up, right? He's, right behind X there. So interesting stuff. And again, you look at how they lined it up here, right? Just a 3-4, right? So they lined it up with a 3-4. And, Porter Gustin, look at this guy, eh? Look at Porter Gustin. I'm telling you, making some noise. Also interesting, my boy McKinley way down that depth chart, way down that depth chart. And if you did have my Patreon, you saw the report that I said they were really interested in trying Wilson at safety, and they've got him officially on the depth chart now at safety. That would be another converted corner to safety. Interesting on the specialist list, Mozart and Waddle are listed as your 2 main kick returners. And then Hill and Waddle are your 2 main punt returners. And again, they put Preston Williams on this, even though he's been muffing punts. So clearly they're trying to, prop him up, and they put Bowden, made sure to put Bowden in there too. So again, propping these guys up as specialists as well. Hey, trade us a 5th or 6th or 7th for a guy you can use on special teams at least, Very, very interesting how that's all set up. But again, this is just your initial depth chart heading into joint practice as well as into this weekend, where I'll be live on Saturday for the live reaction to the Bucks and the Dolphins. So there is your first initial depth chart of the off season, well, preseason now. Very interesting stuff. Very interesting. You can the propping of Preston is and Bowden is a thing of beauty to watch. All right. Now, obviously, that comes on the heels of the news that came out in the Monday Morning Quarterback from Albert Breer today. I'm going to bring up that article. You can see this is what started the proverbial fire regarding the trade rumors surrounding Preston Williams and Lynn Bowden, which we already knew it was coming. We already knew it was coming. If you've been watching this channel, I've been telling y'all, my 6, I've been telling you for quite some time now. Hill, Waddle, Wilson, Trent Sherfield, Eric Izukama, and, well, I know River Craycraft's been coming up, but Braylon Sanders still, to me, it's going to become Braylon or Craycraft for that 6th spot. So this is what happened. Speaking of the Dolphins, after they're talking about the Watson stuff and all that jazz, they're one of the few teams that already seem to be involved in the pre-week 1 trade market. Things should heat up once injuries start to occur and preseason games start to be played. But Miami's already at work here with a surplus at a prominent position. They've talked to other teams about potentially moving veteran receivers Preston Williams and Lynn Bowden Jr. Williams showed a ton of promise as a rookie with 32 catches for 428 yards and 3 touchdowns, but has leveled off since due to injuries, obviously. Bowden came out of Kentucky as a sort of Swiss Army knife offensive weapon, having worked as a receiver, quarterback, and return man in college. He was taken in the 3rd round by the Raiders and traded to Miami before week 1 of his rookie year, and he has struggled to find a niche and battled injuries since. So maybe someone out there will see something in one of these two and take a swing. Either way, it's probably smart of the Dolphins to get out in front of the glut of names likely to hit the trade market later this month. Now, here's the thing. All right. I get getting out ahead of the trade market, but you're going to have to find a team that is a couple things, that values either one of these guys, that doesn't want to battle other teams in terms of pecking order in the waiver wire if they get cut eventually, right? So you got to make them be fearful of them getting cut and them missing out. Also, shout out to the homie Rhino Sith for the $25 donation. He says, here's to help with any potential demonetization. Go Fins. Appreciate you, Rhino. So, man, guys, it's gonna be real interesting. It's gonna be real interesting. I just, you're gonna have to find a team that really covets these guys that's willing to give up even the 6th or 5th or 7th at this point, right? Because a lot of teams are going to say, well, there's a lot of guys going to getting cut that are going to, they're going to blow it up the market. So I can just sift through these guys. These are going to be guys we're going to sift through. But what furthered speculation was MLF Football on Twitter, and again, I don't know how credible this person is. People were tagging me, hitting me up, because this is something I've been talking about. But he said, breaking, the Bears are in talks with the Dolphins for wide receiver Preston Williams per source. Now, I got hit up about this because, I've been saying, hey, trade him for Tevin Jenkins. They need help. Because here's the thing, guys. If you go get Tevin Jenkins, you can put Austin Jackson. If Josh Jackson loses to Tevin Jenkins, I'm more comfortable with him at left guard than I am with Eichenberg in this scheme. I'm just going to be honest with you. And so anyway, so what I did was after seeing this, I said, okay, let's go look at some teams that really need wide receiver help. And these are the teams I identified: the Bears, the Ravens, the Falcons, the Texans, the Jaguars, and the Panthers. The Packers. All right. So I identified 6 teams. Now, I specifically looked at offensive line help. If it wasn't a name like Jenkins, that's all that I could come for the Bears. I specifically looking at center. The center market between those guys is as follows. You got Drew Dalman from the Falcons. He's a center, and he plays left guard. He's only played 68 snaps, and he was drafted in 2021. Jimmy Morrissey, who I actually liked coming out of Stanford, if I remember correctly. He was drafted in 2021 by the Texans. He's played 258 snaps. The Texans also have Scott Quessenberry, who was drafted in 2018. He has 814 career snaps, and 625 of those were with the Chargers in 2019. And he was there for 4 years. The Jaguars and the Ravens have really no one at center. That interests me. And then the Packers have Jake Hansen, who can play guard or center, who's drafted in 2020, or Michael Minette, drafted in 2021 to center. But we're talking like limited ass snaps here. Like we are talking, if you look at those teams who are really, really wide receiver needy right now, there's, I'm looking for I'm not looking for Ted Karras, but I'm looking, a competent backup center that can come here and give us competent starter minutes. That's what I'm looking to find. And really, I can't find that. Your best option, if you want to go based off, experience, would probably be Scott Quessenberry with the Texans or Jimmy Morrissey. Jimmy Morrissey has a little bit more upside. But really, unless you're willing to splash something bigger than Preston or Lynn Bowden, I think a center's out of the option in terms of them. Like, hey, maybe you can get Tevin Jenkins, and that's just because of that situation. But, but then that's just another tackle, right? That's not, and hey, we need depth tackle, so I'm fine with that, And if he can play guard, even better. So I'm looking for offensive line help because that's really where I think we need it. Now, I don't think, Preston Williams, Lynn Bowden, and a 3rd-round pick is going to pry like Roquan Smith from the Bears, and we can have a legitimate starting linebacker. I mean, I wish, but I don't think that would. You know what I mean? Like, I wasn't looking for superstars when I'm looking at Preston Williams and Lynn Bowden because they're not going to draw more than a 5th, 6th, 7th-round pick. So we got to look at guys who could be in and around that value. So there's just not a lot out there. I think right now the smart thing would be try to get as best, unless you're getting Jenkins, or unless you're going and getting a Scott Quessenberry or Jim Morrissey. I think you should just get draft picks, and I think you're only going to get a draft pick for one of the guys. I don't think they're going to be able to successfully trade both. Now, if they do, kudos to Chris Greer. He deserves a standing ovation. And if he gets even better than what I think is going to be available to us, even more kudos to him, and I bow to his greatness. But you look at the market of the teams that are really, really wide receiver needy, because, I mean, the guy popping off in Packerville right now is Romeo Doubs. And you look around and there's not much else going in. Texans are relying on Nico Collins and they got Brandon Cooks, but they don't really have much more than that. The Bears, all they got is Darnell Mooney. The Falcons, all they have is Pitts and Drake London, really, right? So the Jaguars, okay, they got Zay Jones. They gave all that money to Christian Kirk, but so Preston could win a 3rd job there. And then the Packers are just like Allen Lazard and you know what I mean? Sammy Watkins is there. And so there's just like a makeshift. So the thing is, they don't have a lot at the position of dire need for us to help us right now. So that is the conundrum. Hey, go stack up your picks, put them together, and try and go get someone. I think that might be the smartest route to go. I honestly do. 475 of you in the room. Smash that like button, subscribe if you're new. If you haven't yet, go check out that little Tua compilation I put together for y'all today. Some of y'all were hating hard on that music. That music was popping. That was back from my days. I had that in the vault. Brought it out for y'all. So yeah, I don't know. I don't think, hey bro, I don't think we get much from the Rams. So it's good to have a plethora at that position that you can try and move. The problem is those teams you're looking at the bottom that really need receiver help don't have a plethora at our dire positions of need right now. So, I mean, we'll see how it works out, but I'm not really getting my hopes up. If they can move one of these guys, at this point, I would take a draft pick. I mean, if you can I think Preston's going to be the one that draws a pick because he actually has the film he had the year to his rookie year before he got hurt. He has good film, right? As long as he can stay healthy and he can compete in the room, he has decent film. Now, how much that ends up, how much the injuries he's had end up, holding him back, I have no idea. But I look at Preston, and but Bowden might draw you a 7th, but I think Preston off potential and his athletic profile, I think he'll draw more. I really do. It feels like with Bowden, we're just gonna have to bite the bullet and take the capital loss on what we give up. So, I mean, we'll see. Hey, Rome, if we can move Gaskin, to the Rams for one of their backup linemen, I'm all for it, bro. But I bet you they'd try to bring Sony Michel back. Bet you they'd want Sony Michel back. So, another thing I wanted to bring up to you guys too, just speaking off this, going to be a really interesting, before we get into the next article here, going to be a really interesting roster decision with Skylar Thompson for the Miami Dolphins, because I don't think they're going to be able to hide him and stash him away. I just don't think they're going to be able to. So let me ask you guys in the comment section right now. If a quarterback goes down and there's a quarterback needy team and they're willing to give you a 4th or a 5th for Teddy Bridgewater, yes or no, would you guys make the trade and elevate Skylar Thompson as your number 2 and continue to develop him? Because here's the thing. If you trade Teddy, you obviously lose the stability of, if Tua goes down, a guy you can slot right in there, and Skylar's much more of an unknown. But I don't think they'll be able to keep Skylar Thompson, guys. I don't think he's a secret anymore. I got a lot of no's. So let me see here. That's coming through. Yes, take it, do it. No, yes. Yes. Mike Jones, let's go. Gone, yes, no. Yes, all day. No, yes, no. Yo, Adrian, funny you bring that up. Robert says, Lindy, funny you bring it up. Guess what? Apparently in Eagles camp, they were super impressed with Reed Sinnett, and he's outperforming Carson Strong. Just saying. And I think Skylar Thompson has a liver arm than Reed Sinnett ever did too, brother. 4th or 5th, yes. Bye, Teddy. Need that 3rd back. Yeah, if you get a 4th, you can, Thompson has shown progress. See, that's the thing, Poke. That's where I'm at with shown progress. If you guys remember when I gave the grade of the Skylar Thompson pick, I said he needed to improve from the intermediate to deep level, specifically with his touch. And you've seen it. He's improving and he's putting the work in and he's getting better from the intermediate to deep level. Brett says 100%. Yeah. I don't know. That's tough. Rome says, I think a team would desperately want Teddy, so only if I get a good offer. Yeah. See, we're all split. There's a lot of people that think, hey, go get it. There's other people who are like, I want that stability with Teddy, and I get both sides. To be honest with you, I'm okay with either. I know that's not the answer you want to hear, and Reason never sits on the fence like that usually, but I'm okay with either. I can get if they really believe in Skylar and they want to keep developing him, I get it. If they don't think they're ready and they're willing to risk losing him by sending him to the practice squad, by putting him on, releasing him first and then moving him, so be it. So that's going to be another interesting roster development. I just wanted to ask you guys about because it's something I've been thinking about the past couple of days. So of course I wanted to ask all you guys. All right, Omar Kelly, who's been a ray of positivity lately. He's feeling the vitamin D of the Floridian sun, and he's loving life. And shout out to him for announcing that he will be going to I Am Athlete now officially, and full time. Good. Appreciate everything you've done, Omar. Congratulations. Things we learned in the second week of Dolphins training camp. The friendly fire portion of training camp is over for the Miami Dolphins. After 2 weeks of practicing against themselves, the Dolphins are headed to Tampa for a week, which will feature 2 days of joint practices against the Bucs and Saturday's exhibition opener. It should provide the Dolphins a measuring stick of where the team is against a playoff caliber opponent, one with the future of a Hall of Fame quarterback in Tom Brady, who possesses an arsenal of playmakers and a physical defense that is as aggressive as Miami's. We'll learn plenty this week, but here's a recap of 10 things the past week has taught us. Tagovailoa is practicing at a consistent level. Tagovailoa's accuracy shines on most days. He's silencing critics who thought Tyreek's big play prowess was going to disappear with Tagovailoa as his quarterback by routinely delivering on deep throws. Most importantly, during training camp, Tagovailoa has typically connected on third down and red zone throws. Put that in with his excellent pocket presence, which he showcased the past 2 seasons playing behind a poor offensive line. And it seems as if the Dolphins might actually have a quarterback worth building a franchise around. Let's go. Uno, baby. Tagovailoa needs to continue to take steps forward during this week's joint practices against the Bucs and during his limited preseason work. I agree wholeheartedly. Terron Armstead is beginning to make process. Armstead, the Dolphins' big-ticket free agent signing, has sparingly participated in practices the first 2 weeks as he paces himself for the season. But the elite left tackle, who is a 3-time Pro Bowler, got involved in 11-11 periods for 2 straight practices and showcased the athleticism he brings to the team. It'll be interesting to see how much he participates in the joint practices against the Bucs. My guess is plenty because the odds of the 10-year veteran playing at all in the preseason games are slim. And I like our chances. Get him out there. Snaps from the centers have been an issue. The Dolphins have been struggling with off-the-mark snaps for 2 weeks, and this is why I keep telling you why this is important and why this needs to be rectified and why I keep harping on it, okay, guys? We are a timing, rhythm-based offense in this West Coast. As a passing offense, we are a timing and rhythm-based offense in this West Coast offense. So it doesn't have to be a snap in the dirt. It doesn't have to be a snap over your head. If it's a bad snap that you got to move, jump a little bit, whatever, that you just can't take cleanly, get the ball in your hands and make a decision off of, that's going to throw the timing off of the passing game. It can. It won't mean like we won't have timing at all, but on certain plays, on certain designs, it can throw the timing off, and you don't want that. All right. And that's expected with Connor Williams and Adam Pankey both making a transition to center this summer. The fact that Mike Dieter, who played center last season, has been sidelined with a foot injury hasn't helped. If Miami has snapping issues this week, the Dolphins need to seriously consider adding a veteran center like J.C. Tretter, who remains a free agent after the Browns released him in the spring. Eric Izukama is pushing for playing time. Izukama, former Texas Tech standout, the Dolphins selected in the 4th round of this year's draft, has been delivering big catches every day, no matter which quarterback is throwing him the ball. His draft status was likely going to ensure Izukama made it onto Miami's 53-man roster, but at this point, it's reasonable to conclude he's outperforming Cedric Wilson and could be viewed as Miami's 3rd best receiver. Ooh-wee. Oh man, I love it, man. Again, like Skylar, getting rewarded for putting the work in. You looked at him. What did he need to work on? He needed to work on his route tree and just, crisping out his routes, being more explosive out of his breaks, and he's put the work in and he's getting rewarded. So if guys are going to get rewarded for putting the work in and that translates to the field, I'm here for it. Xavier Howard has shined in limited work. Tyreek Hill, who has averaged 11 touchdowns a season in his first 6 years, and one of the most dynamic playmakers the NFL has ever seen. His speed is a threat to any quarterback, but Howard has shown that he has the skill set to cover Hill one-on-one on most plays. That's why Hill acknowledged that Howard's been locking him up on one-on-ones and often calls for the 3-time Pro Bowler to cover him during those drills where opposing units go up against each other. Yeah, but Xavier Howard hasn't been winning like that in 11-11s against Tyreek. Melvin Ingram deserves a starting role. And hey, we saw the depth chart. I do think that's something to put a little bit of, take a note of, you know what I mean? Is Melvin Ingram. Yeah, I've been telling y'all he's going to push AVG for snaps. And it ain't going to be, this AVG's job. And it's just going to be handed to him. And Melvin Ingram coming in. And we've seen him consistently making plays every day. He's a force. He's a factor on the field. And honestly, opposite of Jalen Phillips, I think he's obviously more complete and he's more experienced than Andrew Van Ginkel. So, Melvin Ingram, if he stays healthy, people sleep on how good he was last year. As Armstead pointed out this past week, the addition of Ingram to the Dolphins defensive front was an extremely underrated move for the franchise. The veteran pass rusher, who has accounted for 51 sacks in his 10-year career, has been one of Miami's most productive defenders in the days he's worked. He's a forceful pass rusher, but also has a knack for setting the edge and defending the run. Put Ingram on the field with Emmanuel Ogbah, Jalen Phillips, and Jerome Baker for 400 to 500 snap plays a season, and the Dolphins should have a foursome of forceful rushers that could potentially lead the NFL in pressures again. And that's the key thing, his ability to set the edge as well. Not a one-trick pony. Tight ends continue to have a quiet first 2 weeks. Mike Gesicki's limited reps and targets the past 2 weeks has to make you wonder why the Dolphins placed a franchise tag, which was $10.9 million on a one-dimensional pass catcher. But it's not like any other tight end on the roster has been targeted much. Coach Mike McDaniel has it said that the tight ends are basically being reprogrammed and stripping themselves of everything they've been previously taught. Tells you what they think about the previous teachers that they had in here for tight ends. That's a process, and considering the end result could be George Kittle, it's hard to question the process. Yeah, hey, man. John Embry, do your thing, brother. Do your thing. The door is open for a defensive lineman to make the roster. With Adam Butler being waived last week, creating roughly $4 million in cap space, the Dolphins have an open roster spot to use on a defensive lineman. John Jenkins, a 10-year veteran who has specialized as a 3-4 nose tackle throughout his career, is a logical candidate to make the 53-man roster. He's been effective the first 2 weeks of camp, but Miami might try to get a better evaluation of Ben Still, Owen Carney Jr., and Jordan Williams, the 3 rookies against the Buccaneers during joint practices this week. Javon Holland is beginning to elevate his game. Oh, baby, that's a scary thought. From top 10 to top 5, and I'm feeling alive. Let's go. The end of practice interception Holland pulled down on Tagovailoa pass during Sunday's end of the game situation perfectly illustrates the cat and mouse game Holland and Tagovailoa have played all camp. Holland and Tagovailoa do a daily battle, reacting to each other's moves as the quarterbacks of their units. Holland pulled down 2 interceptions this past week and delivered a handful of plays that would have impacted the outcome of drives favorably for Miami's defense. So, Omar says the 5th receiver spot's up to grabs. I think the 6th is, my friend. At this point, the battle to determine which receiver earns a roster spot behind Hill, Waddle, Wilson, and Izakama is foggy. Preston Williams and Lynn Bowden, 2 talents from past Dolphins regimes, had quiet camps and are now on the trade block. If they don't start producing, their days in South Florida are numbered. River Craycraft, Mohamed Sanu, and Trent Sherfield all have history with these coaches from their time with the 49ers, but none of them have been as impressive as Braylon Sanders, an undrafted rookie from Ole Miss. There you go. That 5th receiver spot might come down to the contributions everyone makes on special teams. Yeah, they're going to carry 6. It's going to be Sherfield, Braylon Sanders, and River Craycraft, 2 of those 3. And I think Craycraft's going to be the one on the outside. And then, yeah, obviously, Hill, Izakama, Waddle, and Wilson. So, interesting stuff. Some good takeaways. A lot of positive stuff. A lot of stuff for us to, really have hope about and to build off of as fans. Love seeing it, man. Love seeing it. And Omar Kelly will be at joint practice this week, guys, just so you know. So there's an article that came out today behind the Athletics paywall that I wanted to go over with you guys. And it's Dolphin coach Mike McDaniel, particular present, putting it all out there. It's a good article. I love the picture. We all need to, it's a good one. So let's go over it. A cloud of smoke hung in the air. In a dimly lit cigar lounge in Houston in 2018, 49ers assistant John Embry and Mike McDaniel took a break from preseason work with the Texans. Embry, at that point an NFL assistant for a decade, said McDaniel was feeling down, so he offered him some encouragement. He told the young coach he was really smart, creative too. He listened well and had incredible memory. He was naturally honest and self-effacing, didn't take himself too seriously, and didn't care what anyone else thought about him. He embraced risk. And then, after a puff, Embry told McDaniel, you have the qualities to not only be a head coach in the National Football League, but to be a successful one. 4 years later, the smoke comes from the orange blossom water poured over dry ice on a plate of Australian Wagyu beef. The shimmering Atlantic Ocean reflects off the lenses of McDaniel's designer glasses. He's a head coach, as Embry envisioned he would be. Some coaches are like army generals, some like general contractors. Then there are those who approach their jobs like motivational speakers, and others who think of themselves as plumbers. McDaniel, the 39-year-old new head coach of the Miami Dolphins, is a computer engineer of a football coach. I'm not like any other head coach I've worked with, he says. At about 5'9" and 165 pounds, he's not imposing. He's got sneaker game. He was upset he missed Yeezy Day during training camp. McDaniel is more likely to try to motivate with logic and evidence than volume and emotion. For whatever it's worth, he is biracial, the son of an African-American father and a white mother. He cracks jokes. The reporters in the Bay Area used to call his weekly news conferences the Mike McDaniel Comedy Hour. But when he's not on stage, the punchlines sometimes don't land because his sense of humor is Sauvignon Blanc dry. Dolphins receivers coach Wes Welker can be similarly droll, which is one reason they click. He and I will be the ones laughing at times, says Welker, who also worked with McDaniel in San Fran. There is not a head coach in the league more fascinating. Some see him as the next big thing, an unconventional genius, and others wonder if McDaniel's Dolphins will become a raging bonfire. No one knows where this is going, but we can understand where McDaniel wants it to go by looking through the prism of those who worked with him then and now. McDaniel wants a team that maximizes its potential. He believes that in today's world, more than ever, a competitive advantage can be gained by just being present. He has preached this to his players and about it often, but observing him is more powerful than anything he could ever say. When he's with you, you get 100% of him. McDaniel's green blue eyes lock on yours. Don't bother texting him. Your SMS and emojis may never meet those eyes. He goes for 12 hours without a glance at his phone. While he is where he is, McDaniel trusts others to do their part to maximize the team's potential. McDaniel often speaks about trust falls, in which someone falls backward intentionally, trusting others to catch them. Ask him about it, and his mind races. In an answer that wanders to nearly 5 minutes, he talks about the inverse correlation between his ascension in the profession and how dependent he is on others. The nuts and bolts of human relationships, creating an aura that enables each individual to have the best day-to-day experience, thinking more macro as a head coach, maximizing variables he can control, seizing the opportunity to make 2022 memorable, and the power of a group of people working for a common goal. A lot is going on beneath that dark, wavy, swept-back hair. It's not difficult to understand why one of his job interviews with the Dolphins lasted 10 hours. It's also not difficult to understand why he wanted to bring Embry with them from the 49ers. Long considered one of the preeminent tight end teachers in the spot, Embry had a hand in the successes of Cameron Brate, Jordan Cameron, Chris Cooley, Daniel Graham, Tony Gonzalez, George Kittle, and Mercedes Lewis, among others. Says McDaniel of Embry, he's gotten the most out of them, and they give him the greatest compliment you can give him. He's the best I've had. That's what they tell McDaniel. Embry doesn't do it by emphasizing technique as much as he does by creating a culture. That's why he was one of McDaniel's first hires as his assistant head coach in charge of tight ends. Embry's value isn't just in bringing out the best in Mike Gesicki. It's in maintaining a level of excellence in his job and establishing expectations for the players he touches that raise the bar for everyone on the team. In the offseason, McDaniel told a story to his new team. When McDaniel was an offensive assistant with the Falcons in the spring of 2016, wide receiver Aldrick Robinson was dropping passes. But McDaniel didn't see anything wrong with his hands. He asked Robinson if he thought he was seeing the ball well. Robinson said he was, but he decided to have his vision checked anyways. Robinson discovered he needed prescription lenses, so he got contacts. That season, he did not drop a single pass. Robinson played for McDaniel in Washington, Atlanta, and San Francisco, and now he's a first-year offensive assistant. He's also an example of someone willing to do whatever was necessary to be the best he could be. Trent Sherfield signing with the Dolphins in March didn't make any waves, as he has started just 5 games in his 4-year career, but the wide receiver's presence has a value that can't be measured by analytics. In 2018, Sherfield joined the Cardinals after being bypassed in the draft. With Larry Fitzgerald as a teammate, Sherfield had more opportunity to learn than play, and he took full advantage. To see how he worked and how he sustained his success for 18 years in this league, I had the answers to the test, he says. I know what it takes to be in this league, and I know what it takes to stay in this league. Fitzgerald connected Sherfield with James Smith, his coach for psychological training. Smith, Sherfield says, has helped him govern his emotions and focus on what he calls the 3-foot world, that which he can control. No matter how many catches or special team tackles Sherfield makes, he is likely to be a model for what can happen when the hunger meets professionalism. You can see Sherfield and McDaniel, who's given a coaching internship on Mike Shanahan in Denver because he was impressed with McDaniel's hustle and industriousness as a Broncos ball boy during McDaniel's high school days. Daniel went to Yale on an academic scholarship and walked onto the football team as a wide receiver. He never caught a pass, but he probably led the team in commitment. After he did 39 straight pull-ups, he was voted pound for pound strongest player on the team. If his team maximizes his potential the way he did, and the way some of those he has brought in with him did, the Dolphin fans will be pleased with the results. McDaniels wants a team that can beat yours to the end zone. When the Dolphins walk from their locker room to the practice field, they pass a sign that reads fast, physical, elite technique. The first word on the sign is first for a reason. When free agency began, McDaniel was quick to sign running back Raheem Mostert, whom he had coached in San Francisco. At New Smyrna Beach High School, Mostert won the 100 meters in Florida 3A state finals with a time of 10.68 seconds. He won the 60 and 200 meters at the Big Ten Indoor Track and Field Championships when he was at Purdue, and NFL.com called him the fastest player in college football. He ran a 4.38 in the 40-yard dash at his pro day. A few days after acquiring Mostert, the Dolphins traded for wide receiver Tyreek Hill. According to Next Gen Stats, the fastest runs in the NFL since 2016 were by Hill, who hit 23.24 miles per hour in 2016, and Mostert, who ran 23.09 miles per hour in 2020. And the Dolphins already had Jalen Waddle, who had the fastest GPS time in the country as a college player in 2020, according to NFL Network draft analyst Daniel Jeremiah. Sherfield says this is the fastest offense he's been a part of by far. Why does McDaniel value speed so much? Sherfield says he wants to force defenders to play off coverage. Welker says the route concepts that McDaniel prefers are beneficial to burners. If you look at how our offense is designed, our run game, our bootlegs, and then having play action with it, that speed will make defensive coordinators nervous, Welker says. Speed is not something you have to have, McDaniel says, but it is very, very desirable. McDaniel wants a team that is built around the interior offensive line. Given the coaching tree from which he grew, the position he played, and his appearance, this is difficult for some to fathom. In 2015, Mike Preston signed with the Falcons to play guard. When he was introduced to McDaniel on offensive assistant, he was told McDaniel was an O-line guy. I was thinking to myself, there's no way he is. He's probably a wide receiver guy, Pearson said. But then when you talk to him, you get it. When McDaniel was an offensive assistant for Washington under Mike Shanahan from 2011 to 2013, the more experienced and up-and-coming offensive assistants, Kyle Shanahan, Sean McVay, and Matt LaFleur, took ownership of the passing game. McDaniel had to find another area to contribute, so he became a run game specialist. Before becoming San Francisco's offensive coordinator last year, his title for 4 years was run game coordinator. Ben Garland, then the 49ers center, called him the run game Rain Man. McDaniel often is referred to as a run-first coach, but he doesn't see himself that way. I think you emphasize football inside out, so I'm more of an interior line play guy first. He says, I guess that is the run, but it's also the pass. To earn yards, start inside out, and then make defenses defend the entire field. That's why Person, who played for McDaniel in Atlanta and San Francisco, is on the staff now as an offensive assistant. As well as anyone, Preston understands why McDaniel emphasizes interior offensive line play, and he knows how he wants his blockers coached. He's going to take care of the offensive linemen, put them in the correct positions as often as he can, Preston says. He has a very unique way of playing to guys' strengths, and he knows them inside and out. That gives you confidence to go out and do your job, to know you'll be the best possible position for your skill set. McDaniel wants a team that operates with humility. He knows that a group of players that values humility will embrace sacrifice, accept responsibility for mistakes, recognize the truth the mirror shows them, and enhance the value of others. Humility is one of the reasons Welker is in Miami. As a player, he led the NFL in receptions 3 times, set the Patriots franchise record for receiving yards in the season, and was 4-time All-Pro. Some consider him a Hall of Fame candidate. He has made more than 40 million as a player, according to SpotTrack. When he took his first coaching job as an offensive assistant with the Texans in 2017, Welker found himself colliding papers and notebooks. He would have been watching his young children build castles on a white sand beach. He could have been watching his young children build castles on a white sand beach, but Welker embraced the opportunity to work like an intern. What's cool about Wes is he's achieved such greatness as a player, but I got to see him as a coach want to do things the right way, says McDaniel, who helped guide Welker when he became the 49ers wide receivers coach after 2 years with the Texans. He didn't feel entitled at all. He doesn't give a shit about his players' accolades. He's humble. It's the exact way I want people to approach coaching a position. He can be a flag bearer for the coaching staff. McDaniel says he isn't sure he could have handled himself so humbly if he achieved what Welker did on the field. There's evidence to the contrary. Understand this about McDaniel. When he looks at a video of a play, he sees things others don't. Missed opportunities, possibilities, yesterdays, and tomorrows. He has a knack for coming up with the cleanest, dirtiest play imaginable. Moser calls him a mastermind. Kyle Shanahan says he's one of the smartest coaches he's ever been around. Former wide receiver Andrew Hawkins, who played for him on the Browns, referred to him as a savant. Yet McDaniel doesn't act like he's smarter than anyone. He doesn't demand attention when he walks into a room. Sometimes you have to crane your neck to hear his words. He's around a lot, but doesn't say a lot, Embry said. He just soaks it all in, and you don't even realize he was there. I love that he doesn't take himself so seriously. Self-doubt isn't the reason McDaniel is modest. His confidence is evident in the fearlessness and the audacity of his coaching decisions. The number one quality with him, for me, is he's willing to put it all out there, Embry says. He will try things, come up with things, like putting Trent Williams on a jet sweep motion. He's not afraid to fail, to have egg all over his face. I love that about him. McDaniel wants a team that is resilient. Teams worth celebrating, he has learned, have to overcome. Moreover, McDaniel has a deep personal appreciation for resolve born of the fall. If the steps of his life are retracted, empty vodka bottles will be found where empty vodka bottles do not belong. In his first decade of coaching, McDaniel was followed by the demon of alcohol dependency. Then in 2016, he spent 3 weeks in a rehab center. Turned out depression was fueling his dependency. It's now been 6 years on the street's sunny side. One of his mantras is adversity is opportunity. On the Dolphins, McDaniel has surrounded himself with others who understand resolve and survival. A 7th-round pick out of Montana State who changed teams 7 times over 9 years, Preston knew he was near the end in 2019. He started the first 14 games of the season for the Niners, playing through 5 or more stingers a game and dealing with a left arm he couldn't lift above his shoulder. Preston persevered. It was one of those deals where you're going to have to tell me I couldn't play anymore, he says. I'm not going to come out, even if it's to my detriment, just because my neck hurts and I'm getting some stingers. You have a job. If you are able to do it, you are going to do it. His performance declined, though, and Preston was forced to sit for the last 2 regular season games. And after some rest, he won his job back for the playoffs. In the postseason, wins against the Vikings and the Packers, and the Super Bowl loss to the Chiefs, Preston played as well as he's ever played in his career. He was the best version of himself when his body was shutting down, McDaniel says with admiration. He was as good or better than he was when he was in the best shape of his life. Mozart is trying to return from a knee injury that ended his 2021 season after 2 carries. He thought he was going to run for 2,500 yards last season. If history is a guide, his comeback will be grand. He once shot himself in the foot, literally. At some point between diapers and kindergarten, Moser got his hands on his father's gun and accidentally fired it at his toe. In the NFL, Mozart has been cut 6 times. McDaniel is sure of one thing: Mozart will give it all he has. I always could count on his return from whatever hardship for him to come back in a better version, the coach says. Mozart has a similar belief about his coach. You are going to see that resilience come out of him too, he says. He's been tried in his career. If the rest of the Dolphins are as resilient, they will surprise people. And if the Dolphins are everything McDaniel wants them to be, they could be a team unlike any other. So, man, I haven't wanted a coach to succeed like I want McDaniel to succeed for quite some time, man. I think the guy's even coached the game, and I got him on Tony Sparano levels for me. You know what I mean? And I loved me some Tony Sparano. Just a great guy, and the things, you know, the cultures and the, you know, the values and the you know, the idealistic values he wants in this team are fantastic. Absolutely fantastic. And he's right. Great teams, the teams that we celebrate, they have to overcome adversity at some point in the season, even sometimes multiple times. So a team that's willing to take adversity head on and defeat it, man, that a team like that can overcome anything. And then finally, some good news for you guys. I'll leave y'all on a good note here, on a real positive. Quick update. Let's check in on Patriots training camp. Patriots' number one offense today has been distressingly bad. Run stuffs, aborted plays, would-be sacks, distress lobs into traffic just to get the ball out. Beginning to feel like it's less the new offense and more the post-scar cycle of offensive line coaches. They are perpetually overwhelmed. Man, I'm ready for Wack Jones to take a step back, and I'm ready for us to beat him again. We run in the gauntlet against them again. We are going to be 5-1 in this division. I believe we will sweep the Jets, we will sweep the Patriots, and we will go 1-1. And you know what? I think it's a realistic possibility. We potentially go into Cincinnati for that Thursday night game with a winning record. I think that's a real possibility with how everything might turn out here. So I love it. I love it. Let's, you know, Mekhi Becton's down and out for the Jets. And now we're seeing the struggles of the offense. You know, all of a sudden, Devontae Parker isn't the greatest thing since sliced bread in Massachusetts, huh? Who would have thought? Who would have thought? I love it, though. I love every minute of it, baby. It's a beautiful thing. It's a beautiful thing. Whew. All right, guys, here's the deal. I'm going to be back tomorrow night. It's looking like it actually might be a little bit of a late night one. You know, we might be starting around 9:30, 10 p.m. Eastern for the panel tomorrow night. So be out on the lookout for that. I've confirmed with a lot of the guys, and I'll continue to confirm. So be out on the lookout for that tomorrow night. We'll do a panel, and then Wednesday and Thursday joint practices, and then Saturday live reaction to the Dolphins' first preseason game of the season. It's back, baby. Football's back, and it's a beautiful thing. And I'm loving every freaking minute of it. Let's go, baby. Football's back. Check your mother effing pulse. You already know what time it is. You already know what time it is, baby. Again, appreciate each and every one of you coming through for a oddly late show. Shout out to all of you. Still 450 with you, rocking with me at almost 12 midnight on a Monday. Appreciate all y'all. I will see y'all tomorrow night. You already know what time it is, baby. Let's get it. Fins up all day, every day, even beyond the grave in which we'll lay as we enter the week where we'll start getting a lot more answers to the questions we have than practicing against our own damn self and practicing without pads has given us thus far. I'm hyped. Let's go, baby. It's the week of getting some real answers. Let's get it. I'll see y'all tomorrow night.